Hello. Good morning, everybody. I have a starting question for you today. What do you need to feel your heart's delight? Do you need civil rights, respect, laws to protect our beautiful planet, maybe a disco ball and some good music? Do you need all of the above? This is actually a serious question. Do you recall your first full realization that you were actually really in love with somebody in a romantic way? I do. Heart's delight is not the phrase that I would actually use for that moment. I was in high school, and I was so overwhelmed with this realization of love that I, a dedicated nerd of a student, was forced to take a sick day. I was all day in bed, literally ill with love. This was so private, so vulnerable, so overwhelming, so personal. And in my case, as a lesbian, my heart's delight was, at worst, potentially deathly dangerous to me and to others. Was that feeling of love a feeling of being alive? Oh, yes. Beautifully, amazingly, fearfully so. I think that is the human situation with following your heart's delight. Where can following your full aliveness, despite fear, lead? Perhaps the heady and somewhat unique mix of wild dancing abandon, sweet earnestness, love, and civil rights rigor at a pride march shows us a little of where heart's delight could lead us. Some wild thing broke loose with the first pride marches, and maybe something to do with full aliveness broke out. The poet and lesbian Audre Lorde wrote, "How can we use each other's differences in our common battle for a livable future?" I see this as a very Unitarian Universalist question. She wrote, "I want to live the rest of my life, however long or short, with as much sweetness as I can decently manage, loving all the people that I love and doing as much as I can of the work I still have to do." Heart's delight. May we all follow that gift. Come now, let us worship together.
Good morning. Good morning. So we are at the beginning of another season for us in Southern California. It's the end of May gray and the beginning of June gloom. But we know summer is coming, so we don't complain, we just observe. This is also Pride Month, and there's a lot for which we can be prideful, and a lot for which we will celebrate, not only this month, but that we here in our church celebrate all year round. So this is a season of beginnings and endings and graduations and celebrations and weddings and Father's Day. And so I light the chalice this morning as we remember the things that make our heart smile and the things that we yet yearn for.
So beautiful. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Santa Monica. I'm Chela Metzger, your worship associate for today, and I share the chancel today with Reverend Dr. Kikanza Nuri-Robins, our UUSM vocalist. And of course, I want to thank the greeters and those who are taking our offerings and those who have made coffee and those who make it technologically possible and aesthetically beautiful to do our live streaming here in our Santa Monica location and beyond. So wherever you are in this sanctuary today or in our online sanctuary from communities across the LA Basin and around the United States, we're glad you're here. As a quick reminder, please turn off your cell phones or silent them for the service. If you're new to our community, on our website, you can find lots of ways to connect. There's also out in the courtyard after the service, you'll find ways to connect. Children are welcome to stay in with their parents during the service or after we do our Time for All Ages and Song of Blessings. I believe there'll be some sort of activities out in the cottage across the courtyard. So we are holding a wide variety of meetings online and in person. Feel free to linger after the service and learn more. We offer programs to serve the needs of our congregation and to be of service to the larger world. We join with communities around us for justice and harmony in Santa Monica and beyond. Now, Unitarian Universalism is not defined by one creed or one dogma, but is guided by principles that affirm the worth and dignity of every person. Our principles also encourage an individual search for truth and meaning. We honor the wonder of existence and believe we are all connected to each other and to the interdependent webs of life. Our beliefs are drawn from scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience, and ancient traditions. We're an open, affirming, and welcoming congregation, diverse in backgrounds, identities, spiritualities, and philosophies of life. We are united in our desire to create an inclusive, beloved community, to live the principles of our faith, and to serve the wider world. Whatever your beliefs or your faith tradition, we invite you to help us build a community together here, where in our diversity we covenant in love and in justice. As we gather in this and in our virtual spaces, we acknowledge that the ground beneath our feet here is the traditional home of the Tongva, Tatatviam, Serrano, Kizh, and Chumash peoples who care for these lands today as they have for generations. We are honored to walk on this land today. I do have some announcements. Our church has a long-standing presence at the LA Pride March, and you can be part of that next week on the morning of June 11th. It starts around 11. The UUs have been blessing gay marriages since apparently 1959, and the work of advocacy continues. Faith in Action has a pickup truck to decorate, and the march will be about 1.3 miles or about 40 minutes with time for gathering before and after. There's a potential for a carpool from church to Hollywood, but do let Faith in Action know if you're interested in joining the group. There's a way to sign up online for that, and there'll be people to talk to about it after the service. So maybe choose your best t-shirt, bring some water, have some fun. Speaking of fun, there's a lot of activities up at our UU Camp Divinaville in San Bernardino. Check out their schedule for children and for adults, and stay tuned for more information later on about our church weekend in September up there. Our church has an important annual meeting coming up, and election voting. This is June 18th at noon. If you're a member, please come. We do need a quorum. You should, if you're a member, have received a packet at home about this. You can vote by proxy. There's a form associated with that, or by absentee ballot before noon on the 16th of June, which can be turned in at the church office. Our General Assembly, which is a national gathering of the UU movement, is June 21st. In Pittsburgh, PA, and online. Look for more information. Lunches for Bunches happens after church. Many hands make the packing of lunches for the unhoused in our community light, fast, and joyous work, so please participate. And today after our service, there's an art wall in the room back in there. There's our artist, Keisha Manjin, is going to be there for the opening. And is she here now to stand up? No, but look for her after the service. So Thank you all, and we will now have our opening hymn.
Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing our opening hymn, Spirit of Life. We're going to first sing it through in Spanish, which is hymn number 31 in your purple hymnal, and then we're going to sing it in English as hymn number 123 in your gray hymnal.
And please remain standing as you can or are able, and repeat the covenant with me together. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with each other. El amor es la enseñanza de esta iglesia. Buscar la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es la oración. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en la libertad, servir a la humanidad en comunión. Así es como convenimos unos a otros. If any of you have brought a donation for the West Side Food Bank, feel free to bring it on up to the basket up here today. We do this every Sunday, and we've been partners in collecting food for the West Side Food Bank for many years. So if you'd like to donate in the future, just bring items, if you can, in large quantities that are in unbreakable packaging. Thank you so much for donating and your offering to the food bank today. Yay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful. All right, now is the time for all ages. And I'm going to tell a story, and I am not a sports player, so, forgive me if I'm not quite in my element here. But one sport I do really enjoy watching, actually, is baseball. And this is a story about t-ball, which is a kind of a version of baseball for folks between about 5 and 8. And I will admit to never having played it, but I like the sound of it. So this story describes a girl, let's just call her Tracy. And she's trying to play t-ball. Now, Tracy has those thick glasses. I had those as a child, held on with, a little elastic in the back. And she's wearing hearing aids because, that's just how it is. And she isn't very good at t-ball. She tries really hard, but she hasn't hit the ball yet this season, not once. However, everyone's cheering for her on both sides, every game. But it's the last game of the season, and Tracy comes up to bat. And through some miracle, she just smokes that ball. It goes through the legs of half the people on the other team. It goes through the center field. Everyone was expecting an easy out. Kids dodged the ball. They kind of watched it go by. Oh, look at that ball. And when Tracy saw what she had done, she was like, "Oh, great, I hit the ball." She was delighted. But there was more that she was supposed to do, apparently. "Run!" yelled her coach. "Run, run!" Her parents were on their feet screaming. The other parents were screaming, "Run, Tracy, run!" And Tracy turned and she smiled. And she thought, "Okay, I'll run." And she ran to first. And they said, "Keep going, keep going, keep going." So she ran to second. She was smiling. "Hey, this is good." And by the time she was halfway to second, 7 members of the opposition had actually reached the ball and were passing it amongst themselves to try to get it back to home plate. And Tracy headed for third, and the adults were falling out of their bleachers. "Go, Tracy, go!" She reached third, and she stopped. But now she was really close to where her parents were sitting in the bleachers, and she got the idea. They were yelling at her, "Okay, I'm going, starting for home, I'm going." And then it happened. During the excitement, no one had noticed that a 12-year-old geriatric mutt of a dog that had lazily settled himself down in front of the bleachers just 5 feet from the third baseline, Tracy noticed the dog as she rounded the bend. And the dog, awakened by all this screaming, sat up, and he wagged his tail, and he let his tongue hang out, and he was giving that doggy smile, and Tracy stopped. Halfway to home, she stopped, 30 feet from a legitimate home run. Tracy looked at the dog. Her coach called, "Come on, Tracy, run to home." And the crowd cheered, "Go, Tracy, go." She looked at the adults. She looked at her parents, who were trying to catch all of this on video and screaming. She looked at the dog. The dog wagged its tail. She looked at her coach. She looked at home plate. She looked at the dog. Everything went into slow motion, and she went for the dog. It was a moment of complete and stunned silence, and then perhaps not as loud, but longer and more heartfelt. Everyone applauded and applauded and applauded as Tracy fell to her knees to hug the dog. So 2 roads diverged at the third baseline, and Tracy went for the dog. We'll sing the children out with our song of blessing.
We're going to sing this 2 times. The first time, children enjoy, and then on the second time, please feel free to go to your classrooms.
Go now in peace.
story. Thank you. Tracy went for her heart's delight. I hit the ball once. I was in the 5th grade. I still remember the exhilaration and the shock of having made solid contact with that ball. I was shocked. Everybody else was shocked. So this is a time for coming together in community to share our joys and sorrows, and there are many. So our friend, choir member and passer of puns, Carlton Bontrager, has had some very serious surgery, and so we hold him in the light. Our friend and advocate for animals and vegan living, Amy Lacombe, is out of the hospital, and we hold her in the light as she continues to recover. One of the seniorest of our members, Hilda Simmons, we hold her and her family in the light. Longtime member Charles Haskell and his wife, we hold them. Charles Haskell and his wife, we hold them in the light. Charles faces another health challenge. Our friend and member of the Youth RE Committee, Shanna Shaked, lost her mother recently, and so we hold her and her family in the light. People making transitions that we can predict: life, sickness, death, accidents, and yet each one causes us to pause, to give thanks for what we have, and to remember that there are so many who don't have or who are losing what they have. And then we have a couple of joys. One, new members, Matt Sugden and Victoria Nichols, who joined the church not too long ago, got married yesterday. I asked them if they were coming to church this morning. They said no. They are on their way to Costa Rica, but do plan to come back, so we will celebrate them again when they arrive. It's Pride Month, we've talked about that, and so we have the joy of being in a country and being in a part of the country that truly celebrates Pride Month and all that it represents. And at the same time, we hold in our hearts and through our actions of social justice the tremendous backlash and retrenchment that we are experiencing and witnessing across the country as people who struggle with the challenge to their binary thinking are telling us that what our experiences are and how we identify ourselves are not valid, and that people need to go back underground and into their closets and do the things that make folks who are not quite comfortable with the vast diversity of our humanity. They want us to make them a little more comfortable. So we hold people in the light who are seeking the light, and we hold the people in the light who are refusing to see what the sun is shining upon. And so I know that there are many joys and sorrows that each of you have, that there are secret pains that you hold in the recesses of your heart, and there are small joys that make your heart smile. And so in the silence, I invite you to bring those out a little bit closer to the light as we remember together. Julie Andrews sang about the things that make her heart smile. She sang about raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens and bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. Those were a few of her favorite things. It's important to know what makes your heart sing. And also important to know what doesn't. Even when you don't know what you want, you can probably create a list, at least a small one, of things that you don't want. And that's a good start. I am completing what Margareta Magnusson calls the Swedish death purge. She writes in The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, which is a large step beyond Marie Kondo's question, does this bring me joy? So the death purge is cleaning out all the things in your home and your car and your storage container that after you die, the people who are responsible for your estate are going to have to clean out. So it's a daunting task, and many people just say, oh, I'll think about it tomorrow, or I don't care, I'll be dead, let them handle it. Well, I tackled it because I was moving, and the thing that distinguishes me from the hoarders who get on television is that I have space for my stuff. And for the most part, my stuff is not junk, but at the same time, I had a lot to purge. So last week, I unpacked the last box of my move. I've taken 125 pounds of records and memories to the shredder. I donated over 100 boxes of stuff to good and mediocre causes. I gave up books and shoes and purses and china and linen and art, all purged, all found new homes. I still have a lot of stuff left. But the sense of completion and the sense of spaciousness around me and physically in my home and emotionally makes me smile. But the bag of very nice bags that were given to me by someone who didn't want to throw them away, but couldn't bear, she didn't want to keep them, but she couldn't bear to throw them away because they'd be good for something someday. That bag is among the things that I kept. Other things that I couldn't discard, but which I know no one will want, are all boxed neatly and labeled clearly. Journals from 1965 to the present, high school yearbooks and scrapbook, photographs boxed by the decade, all are ready to be dumped. But for now, looking at the labels and remembering the experiences that they catalog, that makes me smile. So when the dog bites or the bee stings and I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. This kind of purging is hard, but I think it helps if you make it a spiritual practice. If what you do is connected to what you believe is important. What do you know? What do you believe in your heart is important about the way to remember the pause, to put space between the mundane and the everyday and the sacred, to remind ourselves that every moment, everything is sacred if we pay attention. If we pause and notice the cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels and doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles and wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings, notice all of the things that make your heart smile. Poet Mary Oliver reminds us, you don't have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. and give it space to do that. Now, one of the things that makes my heart smile is this church. When I was 16, I got kicked out of Sunday school. My mother's rule was you go to church or you go to Sunday school every week, or you have no social life. And so most Sundays, the family piled into the car and drove across town to go to church. But that also meant that if you went, you were stuck with the family for the church and the Sunday school, and then whatever visiting or socializing they did afterwards. So my brother and I, instead of going with the family, walked down the street to the church that was closer to our home because we had more freedom. Well, one day I came home, and it was the next day, like Monday or Tuesday. But anyway, one day my mother asked me what happened in Sunday school this week. I don't know. She says, well, they told me that you were asking questions. What were you asking questions about? Same old stuff, I always ask questions. She said, well, they said your questions were disturbing the other students. I was trying to make sense of what I was learning in school and what they were trying to feed me in church, and they couldn't make it make sense for me. So there is a lot that I can complain about in terms of the mothering I got, but she did a good job that day. She said, well, I guess if they can't answer your questions, you don't have to go. And I said, great, I'll become a Baha'i. And she says, no, you won't do that. But it started my journey. It started my journey of exploration, finding a spiritual path. And that journey led me to a UU church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in recent years. The first time I attended a UU service was on the Sunday of their coming of age culmination. Wow. If I had been able to go through a program like that when I was 16, that is exactly what I needed 60 years ago. And that is one of the reasons that this church makes me smile, because that's what we do with our kids. Other reasons, where else could I go to a choir concert where everyone's in drag or has glitter in their beards? This is a place where people will pay to eat in your home or swim in your pool. This is a place where people express their discomfort, where people voice their concerns, where people ask their questions, and at least people pretend to listen to what you have to say. This is a place where people covenant to live into the questions, to live into the things that disturb us rather than condemning the questioner. This is a place where diversity means more than race or ethnicity. We have diversity in beliefs and in spiritual practices, and this is a place where it is safe to express those beliefs, and where we learn to sit with the complexity of apparent contradictions and how we make meaning of our world. Now, we are not over the rainbow yet. The skies are not always blue, but we can dare to dream of a beloved community. And it's important that we do more than dream, that we find and do the things that make our hearts smile individually and as community, while we recommit and work to create a world where there is room for all of us and all of our beliefs, where we feel seen and heard and cared about. Poet Langston Hughes, who is a member of the queer community, warns us that we must stay vigilant. He asks, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? Let us, my friends, keep our eyes on the prize. Let us remember that it is not just about us. Let us hold on to the things that delight our hearts. Let us continue to work together to truly embrace all of our brothers and sisters with love and justice in harmony.
Thank you, Reverend Kikanza. Beautiful. So it's that time in the service for the offertory, and you may feel that you are asked to give too often and by too many organizations, and I can sympathize. But imagine not having the money or the energy or even the love to share, to give. If you can give, you are lucky. Erich Fromm said it well in his book, The Art of Loving, when he said, "Giving is more joyous than receiving, not because it is a deprivation, but because in the act of giving lies the expression of my aliveness." Thank you to each of you here or online for sharing your presence today, for giving to our beloved community with your time, your activities, and your money. 50% of today's offering goes to the Transgender Law Center, which is the largest national group led by trans people to advocate for self-determination. Just as we see women losing the legal ability to control reproductive decisions in many states today, we are seeing a quickly multiplying set of laws against trans people. This group is clearly an easy target for the so-called culture wars, and if this legal abuse stands, who is to be targeted next? Today, when you give, you can make a difference to a group cruelly singled out for legal discrimination in a growing number of states. There are many ways to give. You can give through our website by clicking on the Make a Donation button. You can scan the QR code. Yes, the QR code is there. You can text 844-982-0209. And give the amount followed by the code GCC for generous contribution, or PLG to make your member pledge online. You can absolutely make out a check and put it in the basket as it comes around. You can offer cash for a wide variety of fundraising goals. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your time, your voices today in song, and your financial assistance to make this beloved community possible.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join us for our closing hymn, number 300, in our gray hymnal.
Our service is over here. Our service to ourselves, our service to our world, our service to our brothers and sisters who are rendered speechless, voiceless, invisible, powerless, our service to them continues. So we extinguish the light in our chalice and carry that flame of truth and justice in our hearts.